Caught husband with my best friend. Some prefacing. I and husband have been together since I was 20, and he 22. We have one child together who is 17. I have known my best friend since we were 11. For this post we will call Bestie Sarah and hubby Joe. Sarah and I do not get to see each other in the way that we used to, as about 6 years ago, she moved to a different province. She is roughly 3 hours away. We text bi-daily at the least, and usually video chat 2x a week with a glass of wine and weekly recaps. Suffice to say we are, or were, still very close despite the distance life has dealt us. Now Joe travels a lot for work, and it's not uncommon for him to be gone for a week at a time here and there. He usually leaves on a Saturday or a Sunday and checks into his hotel, so he is fresh-faced on Monday. Always home on weekends. On this particular Wednesday, he said he was going to leave that Friday instead, as he had some prep work to do prior to Monday and just wanted to allot himself enough time to do so without stressing last minute. I didn't think much of it and told him it makes sense. I looked forward to having the house to myself for the weekend as my son was going to his best friends to game for the weekend as they often do. Friday rolls around, and my boy comes home from school, packs his things and heads out. All is good there. Joe's flight was at 8:40 p.m. so we still got to enjoy dinner together before he left for the airport. He kisses me, leaves. House is quiet. Too quiet. I get some tidying done, have a relaxing bath, and tuck in with some Netflix. Life's good. I wake up Saturday and tackle the day with some Christmas shopping and lunch. I arrive back home around 1 p.m. and get a load of laundry done. This brings me to about 3 p.m. It sounds silly, but as much as I was looking forward to being alone all weekend, I was bored and over it by this point, so I figured, hey, I'm gonna grab a bottle of wine and call Sarah up later for some girl time to help my evening go by a lot faster. In the same breath I realized, heck it. I have nobody to cook for or cater to tonight. I am gonna surprise her in person with a bottle of wine. Into the car I go. I arrive in her area at around 7 p.m., all giddy and pumped up. I know she is going to be absolutely stunned and excited when she opens the door. Let the squeals ensue. Well, as I rounded the corner onto her block, I am the one who is stunned. There is another car there. My husband's make and model. My heart drops, but I tell myself there is just no way, and I actually feel guilty and silly for thinking it could be him. It is a common vehicle after all. As I pull up to the house, I can see now it is his car. I am sick. Beyond sick. I can't describe the sinking feeling I felt, as I can honestly say it's the first time I've ever had that feeling. I kept trying to justify an innocent reason for this, and I came up empty-handed. Anger sets in. I walk up to the door and begin pounding in the way I imagine the police would do in dire urgency. I hear Sarah's footsteps approaching in a confused tone in her voice as I hear her say, I really don't know. I'm not expecting anybody. Our eyes meet as she peeks through the little decorative diamond-shaped glass of her front door. She says, as she heel spins to walk away but back again. I tell her to open the goddamned door. At this point my husband has heard me through the front door and I hear him groan and say something along the lines of, this can't be real. Did you tell her to come here? How did she know? Etc. She opens the door, and he acts as if I didn't just hear their exchange of words on the other side of the door. I demand to know WTF this is. She is completely stunned and stands back with her hand over her mouth as he fumbles his words and tells me he stopped there before leaving for his trip to plan a surprise New Year's party for me with Sarah. As if. I quickly tell him that's absolutely not true, and such thing can also be correlated via any other source of communication that does not include spending the night with my best friend. I look past them to see what looks to be the aftermath of a romantic dinner for two on her dining room table and a cozy blanket on her couch with 2 glasses on the coffee table. I am in tears at this point. He has the nerve to then accuse me of having looked through his messages and being the sneaky one. I am baffled. I tell him to get his crap and get out of there. He refuses, citing he still has to leave for his work trip the following day. I tell him absolutely not. Get your things and we are getting a room for the night to discuss this. He reluctantly agrees. He asks me to wait in the car for him, which I say no to. I begin to yell at Sarah as he scampers around collecting his whatnots. She is apologetic but tells me she hopes this is just a bump in our friendship and we can work past this. What an absolute joke. This is not a bump, but an entire mountain that has been placed on and crushed any remnants of our friendship. Fast forward to finally getting to a hotel with space. Husband confesses, as if I needed a confession, to having been with her a few times in the past. but maintaining a long-distance relationship with Sarah for the past 4 years. 4 years? I am absolutely breathless. He subsequently cancels his work trip and ends up coming back home, where we spend most of the next day arguing before our son comes home that evening. We keep it hush around him, but he can definitely tell we are on the outs. This brings us to now. The following Friday. We have spent all week arguing, talking, crying, and just trying to figure out where to go from here. We always had a loving relationship. He says he just got bored but has developed deep feelings for Sarah and vice versa. He begs for forgiveness daily and has made a point to cut ties with Sarah to try and save our marriage. But my trust is non-existent, and my hurt-no-meter is redlined. I've been too ashamed to share this information with other friends, especially friends Sarah and I have in common. Comment? Tell everyone because you will need their support. Do not let yourself be isolated from the help and advice of your family and friends. Your family and friends will not judge or blame you, they will rally around and support you. You must lean on them for strength. Do not let yourself be alone at your lowest moments. Exactly. Keeping this quiet protects him. If she doesn't want to stay in the relationship, she needs a support system around her. If she calls it quits, people could make up wild assumptions about why this seemingly happy couple suddenly broke up. Keeping it quiet protects them both and could end up isolating OP even further. OP should expect that the two of them will try to spin a narrative that paints her as some sort of monster that forced them together out of solidarity. Now is the time to come out swinging about these two liars and cheats. OP should tell her friends and family, get their support, and start planning her next steps. You have nothing to be ashamed about. You did nothing wrong. Tell everyone you know, especially mutual friends with Sarah who deserve to know that she has no problems fucking her best friend's husband become her back for 4 years. Tell his family so they know what kind of mask he is. Tell your son, because he will know something is going on when you serve his father with divorce papers, but deserves to know exactly why. Don't worry about ruining his relationship with his dad. A 17-year-old is mature enough to understand that it isn't his fault, that his dad is a piece of shit, and that his mom was the one wronged. Seconding. Spill the beans OP, because if you don't, they will. And God knows what shit story they'll try to spin to garner sympathy. Call them the fuck out and I know this will be hard, the least aggressive way you can, and just let your friends know you need their support. Nobody will blame you or judge you. You did nothing but love your husband and best friend who decided to be absolute turds and betray you. Under the guise of deep feelings, fucking gag. Get your affairs in order. Speak to a lawyer and divorce. Once trust is broken, it's god awful to repair, and they both betrayed you for 4 years. There is no coming back from this. He would have kept doing this as long as he could get away with it. Get STD testing, talk to a lawyer, gather your and your children's important documents in case you need some space and need to leave somewhere. And do not let either your husband or your best friend try to explain their side. No crocodile tears or sob stories. Cut contact with your ex-friend. You catch your husband cheating on you with your best friend, why not retain the best divorce lawyer you can with niche experience similar to this? OP should not run the town dry with consultations, but certainly it's not bad faith to get your fair share of opinions and make sure that you choose someone worthwhile to give your money to. You don't pick the first item on the menu when you go to order until you are sure you've checked out the menu enough to know that's the item you want. What is being suggested above is to explicitly seek out consultations for the purpose of forcing her husband to have difficulty in finding legal coverage. Read the parent comment of the one I am responding to. There is a very clear-cut difference between have a few consultations to get with the right lawyer and I've consulted with every lawyer in a 300-mile radius to make sure my soon-to-be ex-husband has to travel the next 2 provinces over to find one. Of course you should shop a few lawyers. Any modern Western population center usually has many divorce lawyers to choose from. Story 2. I am starting to actually hate my husband. First off, my husband and I are in a bad place and he decides to volunteer himself to give car rides and invite some random work friend to a gathering all of a sudden. My husband and I have been together for 10 and married for 6 years. He is a major in the Air Force and has told me that he has no desire or motivation to work on our marriage. I've had this feeling for a while, but he's now admitting to me that he doesn't care to consider my feelings with the choices he decides to make, and is unaffected with how it makes me feel. He doesn't care and only cares about himself and what others think of him. We are in counseling and he's even told the counselor this. She asks him if he could, but he's told her what he's told me. He has no desire to change or make himself better, but the last session she gave us homework to set goals for ourselves and actually put in the effort. He said that he would try and I was committed to trying as well. Now fast forward to this week. He texted me from work asking if he can invite someone to my friend's game night we're going to, which was tonight. We also live in Korea and have 2 years left to go. I said who, and he replied with a woman's name I've never heard him mention before. I didn't ask any questions and just did what he asked. Now today he's told me, yeah, her car broke down, so I gave her a ride back home, and will give her rides to work until her car is fixed. Okay, I'm thinking, who is this woman and why for the last 2 days are you so invested in her car troubles and inviting her to game nights with our friends? He's never done anything like this before, so why now? And why her? I asked if she asked him for rides and he said he offered. I meet her, she was fine, but he almost pushed me out the way to get to my friend's door when he heard knocking. The night was okay after that, minus a couple minor things like him going out of his way to reach on the long opposite side of the table where she was to discard a card he could have discarded next to him. I confronted him that it was very strange of him to do all of this so sudden, especially since he's the type that doesn't like to make friends and mingle after work. He's told me that he doesn't give a fuck about her, but to me it's just odd. At this point I'm at a loss. I don't have a lot of money because we've moved 5 times in the 6 years we've been married, so coming by a job is difficult. I wish I had my own money so I could get out. Comment. Yet every once in a while you read something that just makes you feel that someone needs to take the low road just because they clearly need to feel strong for those own good. Then she needs to go on Tinder after the divorce and send him video of banging young dudes and how happy she is. Unfortunately, that's not necessarily true anymore. Source: military spouse, who's seen it many times. Unfortunately, it's not entirely uncommon for things like this to happen, and even with proof it's up to the command to do anything about it, but usually they're unbothered by it. Now if he wanted to withhold money or was in any way abusing her, then they would step in. I agree with others in that he's already checked out and this likely his mistress. Leave him OP. It doesn't matter with regard to OP getting a divorce, because OP is clearly miserable and the marriage has no hope, so she should get a divorce either way. It does matter in some other ways, but I'm not actually convinced he's cheating on her. Let's not forget about the potential mistress. Sounds like she's in the military too. She could be in a whole lot of trouble as well, for having an affair with a married man. His troubles would also be massively compounded by the possibility that the mistress is of lower rank. He has a salary, book a ticket home to family or a friend, fly out. Apply for divorce, apply for job. What is she going to do? Just wait and pretend nothing will happen. Also moves a lot, so hard to get cash. Okay, but you're there for 2 more years, so get any old job. If they currently get by without her making anything, then even HTE most min-wage job will be enough to save for some rent and tickets home after 2 to 3 months. Wouldn't be entirely surprised if the military didn't have a potential programs for helping partners ending marriages get home cheap / somewhere to stay for a month or something while getting a job. They also have opportunities for jobs on base, secretaries, cleaning, mess hall, etc., temp jobs and more permanent ones. It's hard to get a job, so I can't leave vs taking anything you can get, and getting enough to leave are very different things. Hell, he doesn't want the marriage? Ask him to give you 10K so you can fly home, rent somewhere for a couple months and have some cash to tide you over till you get a job. Won't get it if you don't ask.